Good afternoon. Of course, school is out of session, but the lounge is open. I am Winston Bell, remote learning substitute professional. What does that mean in layman's terms? That means I'm a building sub who's working from home, who's doing this remotely during a pandemic. That is Stacy Boss. She is licensed speech professional extraordinaire.
Hi, everyone.
Boss and Bell in the afternoon, the teacher's lounge, and it is open. All right. Let me give you a little bit of framework, because just as you do in every class, you need to know what are we talking about. We're going to talk a little bit about teachers' topics. I'm going to bring you in with a little inside gossip. How you doing? Maybe it's hot topics. Maybe it's gossip. And of course, I'm going to leave you with some information. I'm going to make you smarter, because of course, that's what Stacy Boss does. Licensed speech professional.
That's me.
All right. Use the acronym. That's a related service provider. No names, please. All right. So again, it's a little bit of talk. It's a little bit of relaxation. And it's a little bit of edutainment. Education with entertainment. Sit back and relax. It's the teacher's lounge. And yes, you can smoke in here. All right. So now that we've introduced ourselves and the framework of the show, let's move into the next segment. So I'm on a Zoom call, allegedly, between 8:30, allegedly, and let's just say 11 o'clock in the East, that I get my required minutes in. Here are things that I see are not relevant or germane. I should not hear your parents in the background talking about conversations they wouldn't have if you were in my classroom. I.e., would you be telling me about why you don't like your cousin because she's never late, she's always late on her rent? I'm just, boss, am I wrong here?
No.
I'm just saying, jeez. So again, I hear, my cousin always late on my rent. I tired of her. I'm gonna put. That's not really relevant, and that doesn't do anything for my lesson. That doesn't teach your child how to do rhyming words, what short vowel E's are, short vowel A is. And by the way, Mom, mix in a shirt. I don't need to see the midriff.
I was going to say the lack of attire is...
inappropriate attire in your Zoom call, not by the children, by the parent. That's challenge number one of remote learning. So again, I'm part entertainer, I'm part educator, I'm part, I don't even know, part of Fortnite in I guess in my world. I guess I'm a video game to a lot of people. And I need to get some formalized instruction going on. Here's the real idea. The idea is, parents, treat it exactly as if you were teaching your children. Would you want them to see you doing certain things? You want them in a quiet place. You want them to be able to learn. And you want them not to be distracted. Peppa Pig is not in my classroom. Iron Man is not in my classroom. So again, leave that out with your classroom. These are remote learning challenges, but again, we'll get to that later. Item 2. I touched on it earlier. Boss, work with me on this. We'll talk about inappropriateness of parents. Let me know. And again, obviously we're just starting out, so don't do this right away. But eventually you'll be able to reach us and say, what are you seeing in your Zoom calls that don't belong? Again, right now, just write it. As I say to my students, just write it down. We'll talk about it later. We look for things that are going to be distractions to children, or Mr. Bell. We want the children to be in a safe space, just as they are at any given time. We want them to have a clean, nice learning environment that's consistent. That's what we supply at school. We need that at home. I don't need to hear TVs in the background. There shouldn't be toys at the table. There should not also be food being consumed. It's okay to have a snack. You got to mix in and be a little freelance, but don't have anything that's going to distract your young, as I like to call them, rapscallions. You'll hear that term. Write it down. Let me stop here for a moment. I know what you're saying. Is this guy really a teacher? Or is he really teaching like he's Dave Chappelle or Kevin Hart?
He's really a teacher, guys. I can vouch for that. We're in the same district.
Allegedly, boss, we will not disclose our district location.
And what did it take about 3 weeks before everybody imploded and things got crazy?
Things got bad.
3 weeks into the school year?
Boss, listen, we're in tour month then. We started back on September 8th. Literally, it was like a bad Trump and Biden debate. It was bad from the word go. There were interruptions, there were yelling, there was technology issues, there were half-truths. Oh, we'll have all of this figured out by week 2. Untrue.
People resigning.
Allegedly. People going on, air quotes, leaves. And how many of you, by show of hands, I'll wait, knew what a Bitmoji... I don't see your hand yet. Oh, wait, I'm on a podcast. How many of you knew what a Bitmoji was and had one before this time? Let's just say it gives you an idea about what Mr. Bell would look like in the cartoon world if you were there. All right, I've gone on a lot of topics. I'm going to pause and pull back. Everything is different during a remote learning environment, okay? Let me give you 3 things that have really adapted or maybe not adapted. I'll talk about it. 3 things that haven't adopted or may adopt. Open house, 1. I'm doing open house remotely. 2, testing. So I've got standardized testing that I'm going to be doing remotely, in addition to everything else. And then, let me go to my next topic. Administration or secretarial folks running the school. But let me revisit. Remote open house. When we think open house, we think about the traditional open house. 6 to 8, maybe 5 to 6. There's punch, there's cookies, there's an introduction, there's going to be a meeting of staff, you're going to see where your child sits, you're going to see your child's room, you're going to meet the teacher. No. Let me tell you what's happening in a remote environment. PowerPoint presentations. You're going to get an introduction from the school that may or may not be your first time actually meeting or seeing the administration. And then you're going to have a breakout room. You're going to go talk to your son or daughter's teacher. If you're doing this in a remote environment, you're probably talking to them on a daily basis. At least I hope you're doing that. Allegedly. No chuckling, boss. At least I hope you're doing that. So again, you're trying to display something that doesn't really translate into a remote level environment. I get it. Listen, you still have to introduce the administration. You still have to have an overlay or something that really speaks to the school and the school's issue. But remote open house, let me tell you how that worked. There were Boston, let me give you some numbers. These are numbers, actual numbers that I've jotted down.
Yeah, what was the turnout there?
Boss, there were more. Do you think it was greater than or less than? Do you think the number of parents were there was greater than the number of administration or less than?
I would hope greater than.
Incorrect. It was greater than. It was almost twice as many. I think we had at least 12 parents and well over 55 members of administration. Greater than.
Wow. You know, I was there, but I wasn't looking at the participants. Oh my gosh.
Well, again, it's just a different thing of trying to get parents to log on and doing something. I say this to you all the time, boss. If you're hungry and I rub a steak on your belly, it's not like that's going to feed you, all right?
Right.
That's a visual. I know what you're saying. No, do not rub steaks on your belly tonight. Go get something from DoorDash, allegedly. So again, we had parents that were logging on. They were struggling with the technology. Remote open house, not a boss move. Item 2, testing. The last 2 weeks, or the first 6 weeks of school, every school across the country has to go through standardized testing. I won't give the nomenclature. I'm not going to give the acronyms. Mm-hmm. It may be MAP. It may be MOUSC. I don't know what it is, most. I'm just a substitute, allegedly. However, I'm looking at the scores, boss. And again, these are numbers. These are numbers. The cards are shaking because I had to write this down because I'm old. Cards are indicating the numbers. I jotted this down. Boss, we had, and I'm going to use raw data here, children testing at above 3 to 5 grades of their reading level.
I heard the same thing from teachers. You know, I get to hear a lot of things from the teachers because I'm kind of like autonomous in the school.
That's because boss is all over. Everyone comes to speech. I'll get to that.
According to one teacher, every kid in her class is a genius.
So your third grader is reading at a 9th grade level. We haven't seen this yet, but Mr. Bell, that would be the equivalent of saying Mr. Bell is in the same weight class with Shaquille O'Neal. Okay?
Now, why is this happening? Why is everybody scoring so high, you ask?
I'm guessing, is mom somewhere in the building? Is she looking over your shoulder? What is yes? Again, it's hard to determine or assess your child's learning ability if you're going to give them the answer. I need to know what they don't know. I need to know what it is that they are struggling with because I can adjust my educational level. But if mom is just going to be in there, and that's a normal response for moms. I get it. Nobody wants to see their kid do poorly, but at the end of the day, they have to be in a circumstance where they're allowed to fail if they're going to be allowed to really succeed ultimately. You got to let your kid do it on their own. One of the first things that kids say on their own is, let me do it. You can't help them with the test. You can't do their homework.
It's not benefiting them in any way if you help them.
Not at all. Not at all. So again, testing was, I have some questions of the data. So that's item 2.
The testing should just be a wash this year.
I agree. Like I say, I just really think that to get honest data, you got to have it in an honest and open environment. You got to have it in one where the kids are doing it. And I know that's difficult during testing, but just think, moms and dads, if you don't know, or you're helping them, you're not really helping them ultimately. There were 2 things they told me, or 3 things actually they told me when I first started substitute teaching. A, always make certain that you know a job number, or that you have a job number so you'll get paid. 2, make friends with 2 people, the secretary and the custodian.
You have to.
Make certain that you're, and again, let me tell you why. I'll give you a little anecdote. In a remote environment, there are people who have to be, and boss, you can speak to this. There are people who still have to be at the school. I usually go to the school about 2 or 3 times a week, but there are people who have to be at the direct location, even though due to CDC guidelines, I'll talk about that later. CDC guidelines, you have to maintain social distancing, places have to be clean, there has to be ID tracking in terms of where you were, all of that. But unspoken in this are the people who are really running the school. The secretaries. I'll take you behind the scenes. So the secretaries, when you come there and say, hey, I need you to make copies, they're saying, who's making a copy of this? I ain't got time for... The secretaries are really the gatekeeper. Just like if you want to go to the doctor and you're angry with the receptionist, just like if you want to go to your lawyer and you really are angry with the person, you've got to be kind to the person.
It never hurts
Ever.
to get a little gift card for the secretaries at the end of the year. Next year you go in, you say, can I have some copies? And boom, you got your copies.
Again, greasing the skids.
Exactly.
If you will. Being a kind friend, as we say in our classroom. But literally understanding that those people are overworked. They're getting millions of phone calls. People are still walking up there. People are still treating it like a very traditional or a non-remote learning environment. They're buzzing the door. They're getting deliveries. They're constantly getting machines exchanged.
In our school, they're even doing tech support with parents.
So they're walking moms and dads through, how do you log in? Does your iPad work? Is your laptop charged? Maybe the battery doesn't work. Or maybe you're in the wrong class. They're literally they're wearing a million hats at once. And as a result, a little appreciation goes a long way with people who really are understanding and doing something. And as we all are, that's outside, big word, of their paradigm. Do I clap it? Paradigm. I don't want to clap it because that's syllables.
3 syllables?
I don't want to talk about syllables, boss. That's too much. I want to talk about syllables outside of school, in the lounge, we don't teach.
No.
But nevertheless, the secretaries also are people who are at the center. They're at the hub of the entire school. They're bringing in everything from complaints to equipment. So you've got to really appreciate them, especially in this remote learning environment. And they're there every day of the week. It's really extremely difficult. They're still in a traditional learning environment. We're in a remote learning environment. So you've got to really appreciate the people making your remote learning environment a little bit easier. So shout out to the secretaries. I'll be having donuts delivered tomorrow. Allegedly.
That never hurts.
Hey, I like a donut. Clearly, I like a donut. As part of every development and part of every education, it's all about career development. And just in accordance with this, it's a segment of the show that we like to call Choose Your Profession. Here are the rules of the segment. I will choose a profession along with Miss Boss. We will choose a profession, and then we will role play together the speech elements of the profession. We will role play the speech elements of the profession. We will talk about what would be a normal dialogue between someone of this profession. If it's a fireman, they would talk about what goes on in their day. If it's a mechanic, or if it's an air traffic controller, or if it's a vice presidential candidate that's trying to get reelected. No names, please. All right. Boss, I have cards in my hand. You will choose one.
Okay. All right.
What did you choose? What does the card say?
Oh my gosh, this is going to be a good one.
All right. All right.
Maintenance man.
Funny that you mentioned this. Of course, I have to renew my lease at my apartment. And obviously, of course, because I'm a career renter, I have to have something maintenance. And normally, a maintenance call might go something like this. Maintenance.
Oh, yeah, hi.
Maintenance.
Yes, I did call for maintenance.
Hey, I see that you have a washer that needs fixing.
Right, it's right over here. I don't know what's wrong with it. I need so badly to wash my clothes today.
Well, I can see you probably have a lot of dirty clothes that need washing.
Excuse me?
I mean, there may be some clothes that need to be fixed. Maybe you need a part that's on order.
Okay, all right, well...
All right, let me take a look at it. Could you show me exactly where the washer is, please?
Yeah, right down this hallway.
Okay, I'm walking behind you. Huh. That's an odd place for a washer. Maybe it needs a new motor.
Well, you haven't even looked at it yet.
Oh, I mean, maybe it needs to just have something fixed. Let me get my tools out. I don't want to, I'm a professional. I've got a lot of tools in here. Hold on, let me get to my tool belt. Now, yeah, let me take my belt off. That way
Wait, what?
Well, it makes it easier for the tools to, me to take the tools out. I mean, that's it.
Listen, I just how long is this going to take? Because I don't have all day.
Well, it probably won't take more than 5 minutes for me. I don't know. I mean, it probably won't take that long because I have other calls to make today.
All right.
It's tough doing a lot of maintenance. Let me, here, if you could show me exactly where the leak is. Oh, I mean, I think it's coming from right under here. Yeah, you're going to need, I'm going to have to go back to the leasing office. I'm going to need to get more tools. If you don't mind, could you put in another request for me?
You know what? I just want you out of here. You know what? Just forget it.
Well, okay. Well, please remember to fill out the survey and say that you received prompt service.
Goodbye.
Sadly, every teacher has to get back to class, and just like that, Boss and I have to do as well. Of course, we would be remiss if we do not, of course, have a Well, related service provider segment, an RSP, service provider. Boss, I've got a question here that comes to us via mail because we don't have any Twitter. It says, my 2-year-old doesn't talk. Boss, is that normal?
Actually, that's a little concerning.
Mm-hmm.
By 2 years old, you're supposed to be saying about 50 words.
50.
So if your 2-year-old is absolutely not saying anything, I would definitely recommend telling your pediatrician, and then they can give you some referrals from there.
So, again, first I got to go to the pediatrician, make certain that everything's okay, and then I find out where I go from there.
Correct, yes.
Okay, because again, they're not in school at 2, but again, should have 50 words.
50 words by 2 years old, yes. And then you work into the 2 phrases from there.
I know 50-year-olds
2-word
who only
phrases.
know 2 words. But all right. Question number 2, and again, we'll have to wrap it up here. More questions will be available as the segments go on. Boss, my 5-year-old has a lisp. What should I do?
Okay, so us SLPs, speech language pathologists, call that, it's probably most likely a frontal lisp that you're talking about. So for S, you're saying TH instead.
Like Michael Strahan on, of course, Good Morning America?
His is very mild.
Okay, so I have all of the...
Yeah, it could be way worse, trust me.
Okay. Well,
So if he's 5, to be honest, S is a little bit later of a developing sound, and so you shouldn't worry too much. Now, if you want to check to see if he can just do it after your model, so you would point to your mouth and pick an S word. Let's say the word is sun. If he can actually keep his tongue behind his teeth after he watches you say sun, that means he can do it after your model, and that means that the sound is probably going to develop on its own. As he gets older, if he still can't do it after a model, I'm sure the speech language pathologist at the school will catch it, or the teacher will catch it and refer him to a speech pathologist.
What about like songs? I know my niece used to have a problem with the L word. She used to use L's as Y's. Yook. Listen to me.
That's a very common substitution, the Y for L. Again, if you're 5 years old, I'm not concerned about L. I'm not concerned about S, L, R, or TH at this point.
Write that down, S, L, R, or TH.
So they still have many years to develop those sounds.
All right. So, of course, we always leave on a professional moment. Put your cigarettes out. Walk out of the teacher's lounge as a professional. Remember to join us back next week. She is Stacy Boss. She is a speech language professional. I am Mr. Bell. I am the substitute professional builder. So we will talk to you in the teacher's lounge. We'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Yep.